Breast cancer is the most common cancer in women worldwide. By 2050, annual new cases are projected to rise by 1/3 to 3.5 million, and deaths are expected to approach 1.4 million per year. Those numbers are sobering. But buried inside a major new study published in The Lancet Oncology is a finding that deserves far more attention than it typically receives. More than a quarter of the global breast cancer burden, specifically 28% of all the healthy years of life lost to the disease, is directly linked to just 6 modifiable lifestyle factors. Not genetics, not bad luck. 6 things that are within the range of human control. The research was led by Lisa Force at the University of Washington and analyzed data from 2023, a year when 2.3 million new breast cancer cases were diagnosed globally and 764,000 women died from the disease. The team calculated how much of the disease burden, measured in years of healthy life lost to illness or premature death, could be attributed to each avoidable factor. The results tell a story that is both alarming and genuinely hopeful, because what can be caused by behavior can also be reduced by behavior. The single largest avoidable contributor was eating large amounts of red meat, which accounted for 11% of the healthy years lost to breast cancer globally. That is more than any other single factor on the list, and the mechanism behind it is worth understanding clearly. Red meat consumption raises levels of a hormone called insulin-like growth factor 1, commonly referred to as IGF-1. IGF-1 is a growth-promoting hormone that is necessary and beneficial during childhood development. But in adults, elevated levels of IGF-1 have been consistently associated with increased breast cancer risk across multiple large prospective studies. The hormone promotes cell proliferation and suppresses the natural process of programmed cell death, creating conditions where abnormal cells are more likely to survive and multiply. Red meat also contains heterocyclic amines, which are carcinogenic compounds formed when meat is cooked at high temperatures. And in cattle raised with growth hormones, residues of those exogenous hormones may specifically increase the risk of estrogen receptor-positive breast tumors. Research following 90,000 premenopausal women over 12 years found that greater red meat intake was strongly associated with elevated risk of estrogen and progesterone receptor-positive breast cancers, specifically. Smoking came second, accounting for 8% of the burden, and this figure includes passive smoking. The carcinogens in tobacco smoke enter the bloodstream and reach breast tissue directly. Breast tissue is particularly vulnerable because it contains high levels of fat, and some carcinogens from cigarette smoke are fat-soluble, meaning they concentrate and persist in fatty tissue. The relationship between smoking and breast cancer is strongest in women who began smoking before their first full-term pregnancy, a period when breast cells are rapidly differentiating and particularly susceptible to DNA damage. The good news embedded in the Lancet data is that between 1990 and 2023, the share of breast cancer burden attributable to tobacco fell by 28%, reflecting decades of public health campaigns and declining smoking rates in many countries. High blood sugar was the third factor, responsible for 6% of the global burden. The connection between blood sugar and breast cancer is one of the more complex on this list, and it operates through several interlocking mechanisms. When blood sugar is chronically elevated, insulin levels rise in response. Insulin itself has growth-promoting effects on cells, including breast cells, and insulin receptors are frequently overexpressed in breast cancer tissue. Chronically high insulin also suppresses the liver's production of proteins that normally bind and neutralize IGF-1, which means more free IGF-1 circulates in the blood and reaches breast tissue. High blood sugar further increases levels of inflammatory signaling molecules called cytokines, which promote the kind of chronic low-grade inflammation that creates a favorable environment for cancer development. Meta-analyses have found that women with type 2 diabetes have a 10 to 20% higher risk of breast cancer diagnosis compared to women without diabetes, with the association being particularly strong for estrogen receptor-positive tumors. MD Anderson Cancer Center researchers describe the relationship directly. Long-term elevated insulin raises breast cancer risk, And the good news is that lifestyle changes, including diet, physical activity, and weight management, demonstrably reduce that risk. A high body mass index, meaning being overweight or obese, accounted for 4% of the burden. This factor is particularly significant after menopause. Before menopause, the ovaries are the primary source of estrogen. After menopause, fat tissue becomes the main site of estrogen production through a process called aromatization. The more fat tissue present, the more estrogen is produced, and elevated estrogen levels in postmenopausal women are one of the most well-established drivers of estrogen receptor-positive breast cancer. Excess body fat also increases insulin resistance, further driving up the insulin and IGF-1 levels already discussed. Additionally, fat tissue, particularly visceral fat around the organs, continuously releases inflammatory compounds that contribute to a systemic environment conducive to tumor development. High alcohol consumption was responsible for 2% of the burden. Alcohol is converted in the body to a compound called acetaldehyde, which directly damages DNA and can disrupt the repair mechanisms that would normally correct that damage before it leads to cancer. Alcohol also elevates estrogen levels in the blood, both by increasing estrogen production and by impairing the liver's ability to clear excess estrogen from circulation. The liver is responsible for metabolizing and clearing excess estrogen from the body, and when it is chronically occupied with processing alcohol, estrogen accumulates in circulation. Research has found a dose-dependent relationship between alcohol and breast cancer risk, meaning the more alcohol consumed, the higher the risk. And this relationship holds regardless of the type of alcohol. There is no established safe threshold when it comes to breast cancer specifically. Between 1990 and 2023, the share of breast cancer burden attributable to alcohol fell by 47%, the largest decline of any factor on the list, reflecting both reduced consumption in some regions and improved public understanding of the risk. Low physical activity also accounted for 2% of the burden. Exercise reduces breast cancer risk through multiple pathways. Regular physical activity lowers circulating estrogen levels, improves insulin sensitivity, which reduces the chronic hyperinsulinemia linked to cancer risk, reduces visceral fat and its associated inflammatory output, and strengthens immune function. Research has found that women who meet the standard recommendation of 150 minutes of moderate activity per week have meaningfully lower breast cancer risk than sedentary women, and the benefit appears to hold both before and after menopause. Exercise after menopause is particularly impactful because it directly counteracts the estrogen-producing effect of excess fat tissue and reduces the insulin resistance that drives several of the other risk factors on this list simultaneously. The mechanism is not a single pathway, but the combined effect of movement on nearly every biological factor that contributes to breast cancer risk. The researchers made a point about geography that adds important context. While these 6 factors account for 28% of the global breast cancer burden, the distribution of that burden is shifting. High-income countries have seen meaningful declines in tobacco and alcohol attributable disease. But for the remaining 4 factors, particularly red meat consumption, blood sugar, BMI, and physical inactivity, there has been no comparable positive trend. And the overall burden of breast cancer is increasingly falling on low and lower middle-income countries, where access to screening and early treatment is more limited, meaning prevention matters even more in those contexts. Co-author Marie Eng of the National University of Singapore framed the opportunity directly. With more than a quarter of the global breast cancer burden linked to 6 modifiable lifestyle factors, there are tremendous opportunities to alter the trajectory of breast cancer risk for the next generation. None of these 6 factors is a guarantee of disease. Breast cancer has genetic and non-modifiable contributors as well, and many women who do everything right still receive a diagnosis. But the converse is equally true. Addressing these 6 factors meaningfully and consistently reduces risk in ways that are measurable at the population level. The science on this is not ambiguous. The 6 factors are known, the mechanisms are understood, the interventions are accessible. Every woman in your life deserves to know this information. If this video reached you, make sure it reaches them too.